Hello! Today I'm going to show you how to make a Christmas wreath as part of the Wreath 31 Days of Christmas. Betty asked me, my name's Carol Pickthall, and I make wreaths every year. Originally trained by the National Trust for Scotland. I've worked at many of the large estates around Scotland, but there are many ways to make a wreath. And I'm going to show you traditional ways and then perhaps more modern, sustainable ways. So I hope you enjoy what you're about to see. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with a ring, which is a copper ring. I'm going to attach some hemp string because hemp string is biodegradable. So everything on this can be recycled. So first of all, you've got your copper ring. You tie on your piece of roll of hemp string. And the important thing is you put a loop in it, because if you don't put a loop in it, you'll have nothing to hang up. You can put it afterwards, but it just makes it easier. And that way as well, you always know where the top of the ring is. So what I'm going to do is, now that I've got this attached, is I'm going to take a handful of moss. And this moss, I haven't bought. I just went into the garden and scarified the lawn. The reason why you use the moss is if you actually attach moss to your ring, your wreath will last longer. So then you just wind round this hemp string. You basically take handfuls, bunch it together, really roughly round so you can put your hand round it, and then you just work your way round the ring. And you just keep going until you've got the whole ring covered. Like so. You might find the odd leaf in it, just chuck them out. I do have a bin down here. If you see me throwing things down to the side, don't worry about it. Right, so that's your ring ready made. And then what we do is, once you've got your wreath made, we have to prepare the foliage to go on it. So I'll show you some of the things that we actually use. A traditional wreath is made up of certain elements. So the elements it's made up of is taxipicata. And taxipicata is yew. So a piece of yew, you want pieces of variegated holly, you want ordinary holly, and you also want to have some sort of conifer evergreen. And so you have pieces of the evergreen as well. So what you have to do is to keep them in is to wire them up. So you wire them up in a very specific way so that you can stick them into the wreath. And what you do is you want a piece which is not too long, but for the holly you're wanting to have a nice little cluster of leaves, and then you want to have a little short edge. And then you put your wire in, you slip it up over the leaf, down the side of the stem, and just twist it around a couple of times, and then bend it round the other way. And that way it will hold the actual piece in place. Okay. And you work through all the different pieces. So I'm going to use the conifer first of all, and just lay it lightly on top. You'll need about sort of 5 pieces. This is a bit like a recipe in a way. And just layer it round, and you're wanting it to drape, go with the actual shape of the conifer. You're wanting to have a little of it hanging down into the centre. If it's too big, trim it, but you're just wanting just to put it sort of roughly, just lay it on top. See what you've got. And go with the natural sort of shape of it. You're not actually going to see this layer, but it is there. And then it's just, you can either use the wires or you can go back to your hemp. Where's my hemp? Oh, there it is. Hides under everything. So what you can do is you can just put layer on and then just tie it if you want. Right, so you've covered it with the first layer and you find your loop, and it's always a good idea to reorientate yourself and have a look at it, but you just want to have that light wispy sort of bit in the inside more than anything. So if you need to, just adjust it over so that you've got that light wispy bit on the inside. And I'm going to start with my variegated holly, which has all been wired. I did them earlier on. And as I say, it's a good idea to find out where your top is going to be. Start at the top and finish. So roughly what you want to do is you just want to stick these into the centre, but you want to have them so that you can actually be able to see a hole. And you just literally slide them in with the wire, and then you've got to find the wire, which is always the fun part, and put it in, but it does actually just hold it, and then you just fold it over. And now we're going to put on our ordinary holly, and this is a really good example of the different sizes, because where you pick it from the plant, obviously you're pruning your plant and you're taking off the ends, and you can see the difference in sizes of leaves. So try to balance them so you'll do some of each, otherwise it'll look a bit odd. But what we do is, again, find that loop at the end, and then you want to start with a nice bit, and you're coming in just very, very slightly in onto this part. So what you're doing is you're starting in the centre and you're working your way to the outside. So I'm just going to start this roughly round about the sort of top of the just slightly more on the top than the last one, and it's just exactly the same thing. Stick the wire in, pull it into place, and then just tuck it out the way once you've done it. So, as I say, just check and see that it's fairly balanced, and the last piece you're going to put in is you're going to put in the U. And trying to get a nice sort of bushy end to it, because it just is more attractive. But this edge here, if you can imagine, is going to sort of stick out, so it goes on this outer rim here. So you're working in from the side into the centre, and this is again why it's quite a good reason to put on a pair of gloves. So if you've got a smaller piece, don't worry about it, because you can fill the gap in. So you just want it sort of sticking around the edge like that. We'll hang it up and we'll see what it looked like when it's hung up before we do the next stage, because you want to have a nice balanced arrangement of foliage. So we'll just hang it up over on one of these hooks, is the easiest way I can find. Just take my ribbon off. And I'm going to put a bow up here, so I want to go completely opposite where that is, and that's where I'm wanting to place my first berries. You can just stick it in, but it is easier to put them in on a wire and hold them in place. I'm just going to take a wire, and it's just the same process, just wrap it round to secure it. Go round one way and then go round the other way. And it will look really odd if it's off centre, so make sure you get it in the right place. And you can check afterwards. Before I put any more in, I'm going to go back to my hook and I'm going to put it up here. So now we're going to make the ribbon. So I've got a ribbon which is quite a luxuriant sort of satin ribbon with just a light bit of wire along it, and it just holds its space. So roughly what you're wanting to do is have 2 loops and enough to hang down. So I'm wanting about that. I'll just cut it. And then you're wanting to make a V in the end with your scissors. It just looks prettier. You want a nice bright scarlet red sort of satin ribbon, because then it will really stand out. And then the good thing is, because you've made it yourself, if the berries fall off, you can add more berries. So try and do this the opposite way. So what you're wanting to do is have it roughly an equal length, cross them over, and then bring this bit in, but sort of try to twist it in front, so to speak. What I suggest is you don't pull it too tight, this wire, because then if it is slightly off centre you can adjust it. And then we'll put it back up on the hook and just tweak everything into place. And voila, we have a nice traditional, get it round, let it hang round, Christmas wreath with a nice bright red splash of colour. Right, so here we have our finished masterpiece, our traditional Christmas wreath for Wreath's 31 Days of Christmas. It's used the traditional method using a moss ring. It's covered with a layer of conifer. It then has an inner layer of variegated holly. It's got two double layers, or a double layer of normal holly. It then has an outer layer of yew, and it's all bound together with some wires and some hemp string. Everything is recyclable. So, from Little Ro and Bothy, we'd like to wish you a Merry Christmas.